Hey guys, it's Brad with College SportsCast, and we are presented boys featured on Let's Talk Sports and Sideline Sports.
Well,
Is it not going?
no, your intro didn't come through, man.
Huh.
You might be moving a little slower today, Brad.
It might be, not sure what's going on. And if you hit it like it does, like it'll send it All right, so if the intro on here in a minute, then I'll be quiet. Right now, we'll move on for a minute. So it's Brad with College SportsCast. I have Jason Harrison on with me tonight. What's up, Jason? And I have Taylor Bell with me.
How's it going?
What's up, Taylor?
Just I'm a Georgia fan, so we're just waiting around for football at this point. Only got a couple more months left. It's always based around football.
It's only like 9 more weeks.
Yeah, it's I think it's about 9 weeks, a little bit over 2 months. So it's definitely
I think it's about 9 Saturdays.
It's still Oh, that sounds so long. You can't phrase it like that. That's hurting a little bit.
Well, hey, it's a lot closer.
I'm not getting any audio. I don't know if you guys are.
Brad, you back, Brad? I think it's Brad's deal.
Okay.
There you go. See, he's bubbling.
Okay, am I back? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Now you look like you're in witness protection program. Now you're not.
No, I'm back, I think. I don't know I don't know why it didn't play to start with. Did it play just then or no?
It did. Yeah.
Okay. Because it's been messed up for me the whole time. I didn't even see it. So I was saying 9 weeks sounds like it's pretty soon to me now. It's like, wow, I can't believe it's those really. Summer seems like it just started, which I guess it technically did. But football's getting closer for sure.
It definitely is. I think it's going to feel a lot slower now because we're heading into the dead period. So there's not really any recruiting news that's going to come out in the next few weeks or so because all those OVs, all the official visits are kind of out of the way for all the big
done. Yeah, they're done for a little while.
Wait and see here. So I think the pace is only going to get slower with it. So we'll see how crazy some of the how some of the hot take media can get while we're trying to create a little bit of drama in this dead period.
Right. Yeah. Well, welcome into College Cast. Had a little technical difficulties there at the beginning. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that, but welcome in, and we want to welcome Taylor Bell. Taylor is part of the Defend Boys group that we are with. And go ahead, have a couple of shows and a radio show. Go ahead and give you a shout out.
So I do a podcast called the Hopeless Sports Magic Podcast. It's kind of centered around Georgia and Atlanta sports teams. So Braves, Hawks, Falcons, Georgia Bulldogs, obviously. And then on top of that, every Saturday, I'm on a show called the Southern Gentleman Sports Show, which is based out of Destin, Florida, and the Ticket Sports Network. You can find my podcast on Spotify Anchor. Just look up Hopeless Sports Mantic. And then you can find my radio show at wearesportsradio.com from 8 to 12 Central Time every Saturday, talking college football mostly.
On Saturdays, are y'all doing that currently, even though we're in the dead period? I mean, I know recruiting to talk about, but in June you did.
It is all year long. It'll be the middle of February and the peak of basketball season, and we're still talking college football. It never stops. There's the guys on the show. We don't call it the off season. We specifically call it the non-playing portion of the season because there is no off season for college football. So that's kind of how we go about it.
I got you. All right, Jason, we're going to jump in here and we're going to do a little baseball coverage. Last night, the College World Series ended last night, and we crowned a champion. Ellen, we will get to that, but I wanted to ask you, Jason, did you catch any of the midweek games where LSU was elimination 3 straight games and won 3 straight games facing elimination? And then again last night they were facing elimination and won. So they had 4 elimination games since last Tuesday.
Well, I don't think you can say elimination game last night because no matter what, somebody was going home regardless.
Well,
somebody was going to lose.
Yeah.
They made the College World Series. Either you're going to finish first or second. Well, anyhow, I actually did watch LSU, and I can remember the early season talk that you and John had about this LSU team. And so every time they played, when I wasn't, because I just got back from Oklahoma, track meet, I had a lot of fun at a track meet. Anyhow, when I wasn't outside burning up in the heat, I would catch the games. And LSU, I see why y'all did a lot of talking about LSU. I see why. Strong pitching, strong hitting, except for one game. And I didn't watch that game. The game that Florida
that was
put up all those runs. I didn't watch that game because I assumed
that was all score game, right?
Yeah. So I did watch them, but man, listen, they had
it was
a remarkable
24
season.
to 3 in the bottom of the ninth. So
I couldn't even believe the score. I couldn't even believe the score. But man, LSU really they really came to play. Back up against the wall. They play like veterans. They played like they had some veterans on that team.
They have some really stellar players.
Yeah. They pitching, hitting, fielding, all facets of the game. Base running, everything they could do, they did right, especially against Wake Forest. That shocked me. I didn't have them come. I thought Wake Forest was going to really
Wake
knock
Forest
them out.
Was a really good team too.
Also really known as Wake Forest.
I think it came down to the last. Yeah, I think it came down to the last. I mean, the last 3 teams were probably the best teams in baseball: Florida and LSU.
LSU came to play, and I sat there and watched that game, and was pretty shocked that Florida couldn't get the bats rolling like they had it rolling. I thought it was going to be a 12-12 game or one of those.
They sure had a Sunday, that's for sure.
Man, unbelievable. But like the market of a team, one thing about baseball I can say, and what I like about series, regardless, you have to win multiple games. Kind of like March Madness, anybody can win. In basketball, one game. You play one bad game, it's over. In baseball, and in the NBA with the series, even in college football, I would like to see. I don't know how they would do that in the college game, but because it's such a physical game that they have to play week to week. But man, I like the fact that it was the best 2 out of 3 though, and so I actually
actually like the setup of the NCAA tournament in baseball. It's really
Yeah,
neat.
I do.
I like the way it's played.
Yeah, double elimination.
Yeah.
That really that really
The double
that
elimination,
sets
and
the
then
mark.
you get the best 2 out of 3 for the super regionals and for the finals in a series. Like the setup is actually really good. I like it a lot. Like that could be
I think
used in basketball, and that would be amazing if they used the ball.
Be hard. It'd be hard to do that, just because. So
I think it'd
like
be
in the
amazing.
NBA, yeah, but in the NBA, you only have 30 teams, so you can actually do that. But then you got the NCAA where you have over 1,500. I mean,
so you got
baseball.
you'd have to cut the number of teams that make the tournament in half probably for the
baseball is
really
64 teams.
Well, but you gotta
baseball
understand
64 teams.
Yeah, but baseball is a lot different. Baseball is really predicated on the pitcher and the hitter, and then it's up to the outfield. In basketball, everybody's just, everybody, even though you have to be on the same page.
The format
sports, but baseball,
be amazing if you ask me. If they done that in basketball, you take the same.
So
64
I'm actually
team.
a firm believer in.
Go ahead, Taylor.
I'm actually a firm believer in. I do not like single elimination in any capacity. What everybody else loves about March Madness, I hate it. I want the best teams. I want Kentucky and Duke and Kansas playing in the Elite Eight together. I want to see the best teams play the best.
Yeah,
now you do kind of lose some.
And
of
it would be great. Can you imagine like a double elimination round? I mean, that'd be amazing.
Couldn't imagine. For who? For who?
For college basketball.
And scrap the. This will never happen, obviously, but scrap the neutral sites. Imagine like Cameron Indoor when Kentucky's in town and it's an Elite Eight game. Like, imagine how crazy that would be.
Like the regional rounds have host sites.
That
would be amazing.
I would agree with that. Now, I would agree with that. Taking I can understand this. The Final Four being held somewhere neutral. Mm-hmm. I can agree with that. But just like you said, if you were able to host, think about that. If you were able to host an Elite Eight or a Sweet 16 on your home floor, man, come on now. Those tickets would man, the tickets and the city.
But you got to
the revenue
too. You played.
Yeah, it's an extra advantage that's added to those teams that play consistently throughout the entire regular season.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that. That cuts down the traveling. That cuts down all the traveling for that particular, but I guess the thing that they'll run into would be the other sports are still going. Baseball is picking up. Softball is still going on a little bit. So I don't know if they have certain games in town, but listen, play a Sweet 16 game on your court, man. Listen, it would be must see TV.
Yep,
it would be must see TV. I can imagine the fanfare, But how would you allocate the tickets? You couldn't allocate the tickets like that. It's still be an away game.
I guess you could follow. You could follow the same principles you do with the baseball, because that's what I'm thinking is from the Elite Eight on. You have it at a neutral site, but you have a Lexington regional or a Kansas regional or whatever kind of thing. So
it would be fun, and it really would be. Of course, you would lead into a lot of the blue bloods being in the Elite Eight all the time, which is probably the reason why college basketball fans would vote against it. Probably. Not me, of course, because
At the end of the day, I think that's what people really want to see, though, because how many people can really remember much from watching? Like, granted, UConn is a pretty prevalent program as of late, but like
I'll be
San
honest
Diego
with you, this
State,
past year, I lost, even me, and I'm a
Like-
huge basketball fan. I lost interest. I mean, not totally. It's not like I didn't watch it at all, but it just wasn't all that enticing to me.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, but yeah, in terms of, I guess to kind of swing things back to the championship with the College World Series, the funniest thing of all of this was the talk about when is Paul Skeens going to come in? When do they start him in Game 3? Do they use him out of the pen?
Yeah.
Does he come in late to close it out?
And
They
then if
didn't even
you
have to
watched
use-
last night, they were like warming him up. They were sneaking to see if he was putting on his cleats. They were, I mean, if you watched last night, it was because everything was about Paul Skeens and when he was going to get in. And then LSU puts a 6 spot up in the second inning, and the game
Didn't need it.
after 4 innings, I think, was like 10-2, and it was just a reach. And we never got to see Paul Skeens come back into the game last. All we got to see of Paul Skeens is him celebrating getting the MOP.
Didn't need it.
Yeah.
And all of those top 3 pick teams breathed a sigh of relief at the risk of injury of a future top 5 pick in the major league draft over him not
So
throw it again on short rest.
yeah, on 3 days rest.
So
Yeah, that's what it would have
Yeah.
been last night, by the way. Yeah, which is
Yeah.
not, you don't really do that with pitchers on 3 days rest. So they were taking a chance, or going to take a chance if the game was close, to putting Skeens in, risking injury on 3 days rest. It turned out they didn't have to. Sunday, Florida put a whooping on LSU 24-4, wound up being. And then last night, LSU returned the favor 18-4. The series
24 hits. 24 hits.
Yeah, with 24 hits, and winning the series 2-1, winning the national championship. So, the stars for LSU, I have there. So Dylan Cruz is projected as the number pick in the upcoming MLB draft, I believe.
yes.
Taylor will probably know more about this than I will, just to be honest with you. So tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Dylan Cruz is the number 1 overall mock draft, in the mock drafts, projected pick.
Yeah,
and
so Cruz is projected as one a lot. The top 3 kind of, depending on who you talk to, rotates between Dylan Cruz, Wyatt Langford, and I think Jack Caglione is in some of these, but Paul Skeens as well are kind of the top.
Well,
3.
Caglione is just a sophomore. He still has a year to go.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I think
That's the reason why
Caglione.
Caglione's not in there.
Yeah, but
I do know that.
Cruz is, he's a true 5-tool guy. Hits for contact, hits for power, can run the bases, can play defense, has a strong arm in the outfield. Prototypical guy you kind of build your franchise on. Just the biggest thing I pick up on, from watching him all tournament, is the consistency at the plate is just way above his he hits his understanding of the plate and the strike zone.
Dude, you can't, and he lays off pitches. He has patience, and he lays pitches like you can't. A lot of these guys. So Caglione, you mentioned him. Caglione can't lay off pitches. When you in a situation, you can get him something that he just can't hit, and he swings. Dylan Cruz doesn't do that. He is the most patient dude at the plate, and you try to put something away at the knees, puts it in the opposite field, line drive almost every time. He just last night I think he had 4 hits in the championship game. I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
I'm pretty sure that's right. All right, so I got to get to a couple of other guys. Tommy Tanks and Cade Doe were simply amazing in the College World Series. Tommy White is his name. Tommy Tanks is his name. But they hitting bombs, tie games, walk-offs. Um, I mean, they just – and I want to say this. So Tommy Tanks and Taylor, you're a numbers guy. So I got to know what you think of number, okay? Tommy Tanks hit behind Dylan Cruz all season long for you. Dylan sometimes leads off, sometimes he's second, and Tommy always moves with him. So sometimes Tommy Tanks is hitting second, or sometimes he's third. He's always behind Dylan Cruz. Okay? When Dylan Cruz gets on base, and I'm not talking about just his hits alone, I'm talking about walks, whether he's hit by a pitch, whatever. If Dylan Cruz gets on base in front of Tommy, he hit 684 with Dylan Cruz on base. This entire season, not in the College World Series, the entire season, 70 games. That is an amazing baseball stat.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is an amazing baseball stat. I was like, I've never heard of that. That's unbelievable.
His
batting average 684.
Yep. It's got to be that's there's not really any one thing you can pin that on. It's Cruz's speed can maybe cause guys to be quick to the plate. You want to be quicker to the plate as well, so you're going to get a lot of fastballs. Maybe they've got a guy on base and they're going to try to go back.
And then
there's no specific situation you can pin that onto. That's one
of the most amazing stats that I've ever seen in my life. I was like, holy cow, that. So when he's not on base, he only hit 254 or something like that. But he hit 684 when Dylan Cruz was on base. That's just amazing. It's like, wow, that's unheard of. All right, so Ty Floyd had a spectacular game, first game against Florida. Dugas is what that's supposed to say. I think I added an I there. Paul Skeens, of course, was the most outstanding player named last night after the game. And Trey Morgan had a really good series as well. So LSU is full of stars. Like, I would say at least I don't see how Tommy Tanks, whoever drafts Dylan Cruz, needs to get Tommy Tanks. That's just all there is to it. If you put him behind Dylan Cruz,
I was saying it's crazy that there's so much depth in this LSU lineup that Ty Evans hit 5 home runs in the College World Series, and he's kind of brushed off to the side because of all these guys. I'm
actually put up
the LSU
team now.
Yeah, so it's
So really Ty Evans plays for Florida, and he actually broke the College World Series record in Omaha with 5 home in Omaha, and I got him listed there as a Florida star. And Wyatt Langford, I mean, he was 6 for 6 there in that game that was 24-4. Had 2 home runs, had a grand slam in that game. So you was talking about him being projected most of when I'm hearing 1, 2, or 3 probably in the MLB draft.
Yeah, he's a two-way guy as well. Now his pitching kind of failed him a little bit in Game 3. They gave him the nod, but just the power bat alone, I think that's probably what I would guess Caglione projects as a position player. But just the talent in the SEC baseball in general is just so off the charts at this point.
So Caglione's he's got the speed, he's got the arm, he just doesn't quite have the accuracy on the pitching from what I've seen.
Okay.
He was throwing 97, 98 yesterday. And he just couldn't struggles pitching to left-handers. He's left-handed and his fastball wants to go, to that side of the plate, and he hit 2 or 3, and he struggles with control. If he could figure out a way to work with his control, I think Caglione would have a shot at being a two-way player, even in Major League Baseball. It's a different time.
Yeah, we'll have to see how much Ohtani kind of, I guess, affects the game in terms of guys wanting to maybe shy away from picking one side of the game to kind of focus on. But it is hard. There's a few guys that have tried to do that and have really struggled. The first name that comes to mind is Brendan McKay with the Tampa Bay Rays, who I believe was a two-way player out of Louisville, and just injuries as well as kind of inconsistent play has kind of left him off the major league roster for a couple of years now. So it's something that I think maybe we see a bit of a increase in that, but then at the same time, it's like maybe there's a reason why guys are only focusing on one side of the game once they start in the professional ranks a little bit.
Yeah, and for the most part, over the years, you do focus on one, but over the last few years, you've got at least a couple of guys, and one in particular that is in the league that is kind of changing some people's tune a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably the best player in the game on both sides.
How many guys can throw 100 from the mound and hit 450? Hit 450 foot bombs.
It's one. He played for the Angels. I forget his name. He played for the Angels.
Yeah, he's just one that I know of. Yeah. Yeah. So SEC gets a championship again this fall. I think it was the 5th in a row, I believe.
Baseball wise,
might be 4. It was either 4 or 5 in a row.
I know there's 3. I know Mississippi State.
Well, Vandy won it. Vandy won it before Mississippi State.
Gotcha.
And then this is a
rematch
of 17 as well. So.
It was a rematch of 17 as well, and Florida won in 17, and now LSU won last night in 2023. There wasn't, so that one doesn't count when you go back towards the years because of COVID. So that's why I say it's either 4 or 5. I know Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and now LSU. I know won it 4 in a row. SEC, kind of similar to the dominant you see from the SEC and football.
I just think baseball,
Taylor,
and football.
I thought you would eat that one up.
Baseball and football are 2 dominant sports in the SEC. We're just gonna put that out there right there. I think the SEC really dominates football and baseball. Basketball, I think we're gonna make a come up this year. But for the most part, at football and baseball, you can guarantee you're gonna see half the field is gonna be SEC teams. SEC teams, and I think they're about to add a team this year coming up, right? Are they still adding a team this year
What's that?
to the college playoffs?
No,
Supposed
that's
to
still
add two
4
teams?
this year.
For it, it'll move to a 12-team playoff in
Yeah.
2024.
Yeah, the next year. Yeah. So let's get to LSU for just a minute. So they win the college baseball World Series last night. They also won the women's basketball championship this year. And I don't know about you guys, but we always talk about the three most dominant sports or whatever. You got baseball, football. If I was going to put a fourth major sport into college, women's basketball, that would be my fourth major sport if I was going to, put one in there. And for LSU to win 2 of the 4, that's pretty.
That AD had a hell of a hiring years. For 2 years, he hit on all his hires, even the football. Football would want to share the West, correct? Did they want to share the West? So man,
they ended up winning the West in year 1 under Brian Kelly after kind of a lackluster start, dropping a couple of
in
games
his
early
first
on.
year.
So that's
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's definitely Scott Woodward is earning every penny of that deal. He got to leave Texas A&M to join LSU as the athletic director.
Absolutely, so. I'm telling you guys, as college sports people, we have to give props to excellence, and you're right. He's done an excellent job at LSU. They are definitely making statements in LSU athletics, and they're here to stay. LSU women's is probably going to be the preseason number 1 for this coming year. Brian Kelly is probably got an outside chance of winning the West again. I mean, he's going to make some noise there, I would think, in football. And LSU baseball is going to stay there. Now, their basketball program, Will Wade kind of put them in a hole. And so maybe this new guy will start to figure it out. He had a rough season 1 going 14-19 with LSU men's basketball. But outside of that, they have really been stellar, and if you are a Tigers fan, you have to be pretty happy.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you think?
The consistency across all sports for sure is definitely something that I think you can have your head up high about. I still think at the end of the day, the focus is going to be on football. It is the SEC. So that's always going to be number 1, but we'll see how Brian Kelly heads into year 2 with just the plethora, the talent pool, the insane talent pool of Louisiana in-state talent, and you being able to use the transfer portal with a lot of the guys being key contributors on the football team, being some young guys and some freshmen. So I think the only thing possibly holding back LSU, it seems at this point, is Florida State in week 1 and the fact that Georgia's in the same conference as them. So, but Brian Kelly's definitely got the pedigree and the experience to try to kind of maybe move LSU up to the top of the SEC football hierarchy.
It's going to be rough, but, it's going to be rough.
I just don't see, maybe I'm wrong, I just don't see the same into LSU against Florida this year.
Yeah, it's a tough situation.
I could be wrong, but I just don't see that happening.
But you got Jordan Travis returning at quarterback. You got Jared Verse coming back as well for Florida State. You're going to learn a lot real quickly about both of those teams early on in the season, whether it's LSU having a chance to challenge for one of the 4 playoff spots as the SEC champ, maybe giving Georgia a run for their money. And then Florida State plays that game week 1. And then they also, I can't remember which week specifically, but Clemson is also very early in the season for Florida State. So if Florida
It's
State
like
wants
3
to
or
be a
4,
playoff contender,
something like that. Yeah.
If they want to be a playoff contender, we're going to find out real quickly whether Florida State's that team, because if they can get past Clemson and LSU early on, then they're probably going to coast through the ACC. Maybe throw Clemson.
Yeah, I agree with you.
The team that's doing the most well. So that's
I agree with that.
A little bit. Things are a little bit more interesting than usual in the ACC this year.
I agree with that. So on the screen, got our Linktree page. And our page there, you can scan that QR code to the right of the screen. It takes you to where you can find all of our platforms here at College SportsCast. You can scan the QR code. It'll take you straight to it. You can find our TikTok and our Instagram and Facebook and YouTube page. You can find us on WSB and TV channel 30. Kinds of stuff there for you to find. And you can find everything we do. I also this week added a Patreon page. You can check that out, get benefits from us, and check that out for our Patreon page. So that, again, is our Linktree page. All right, guys, that kind of concludes the baseball talk. I want to get to this. I'm going to leave that up on the screen for just a few minutes. But so tonight, episode 124.
Hello.
That's a
That's
a pretty big accomplishment.
That's a lot of shows, man.
Yeah, in one season. I'm not talking about.
Yeah. For one season, that is a pretty big. That's a pretty big accomplishment, man. Pretty big accomplishment.
Yeah. I'm not talking about like
consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started when football started last year. When college football started, we started towards the end of August doing these shows. We actually started on Podbean and audio for about 2 months. And then we moved into video. But we have been doing shows 3 times a week, pretty consistently, like you talked about, Taylor, since then. And we did it. We did 3 times a week all through college football and college basketball. The only time we didn't do 3 times a week was at Thanksgiving and Christmas. I think we missed one in between each one, like because it fell, trying to have Christmas and Thanksgiving and stuff. Because Thanksgiving's a Thursday and we do it Thursday. So I think we cut that one out. But outside of that, we did them every single Tuesday, and Sunday. And then when it was just ball season, after the NCAA tournament and basketball, March Madness, we went to 2 days. We've been doing 2 days a week, is what we've been doing since then. But 124 episodes covered almost every game of college football, basketball, and baseball. Jason's been with a lot of it.
We have. I know I came on probably the latter part of the football season. But, man, look, it's like he said, that's a huge number, man. That's like two. That's like 2 seasons, 2 3 seasons for people. You talking about 1 year,
Yeah.
one season? It's
Yep.
man. That's them scary hours right there. Those are scary hours.
124 episodes. You guys are giving Grey's Anatomy a run for their money in terms of the number of episodes.
Man, you right. Hey, 124 episode. Boy, if we can monetize those, boy.
Exactly. I mean, so Taylor here, Jason, and just I'll let you guys know we're kind of in talks. Taylor might join us for our game day pick'ems some next year,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
and
Cool.
do
Cool.
college football, especially during college football season. He loving that. Um, he's like I said, he's this guy. He likes doing all that, and huge football fan anyway. So he might come on with us and do our game day pick'em show starting in August. And if I can get him to come on to do some of our summer series to cover some of the SEC media days, I'll get Taylor to come on for that too.
You got to have the back-to-back champs on it. You got to get the Georgia guy involved anytime you're talking about college football. I mean, come on now.
See,
Hey, it looks like it's going to be some interesting topics of debate.
so since we're talking,
Every Sunday,
bring it up
Sunday,
back.
for real.
Yeah,
Thursdays.
since we're talking about
I can only imagine.
back champs, yeah, I mean, a lot of guys off of those two teams, including the quarterback. Is it really realistic to say they should be number one coming into the season?
Yeah, I think I'm honestly a big proponent of anytime a team wins the Natty. Obviously, preseason rankings are kind of ridiculous anyway, but it's part of the fan experience kind of have them there. But like you kind of put the number one, put the defending champs as number one, just kind of by default. But you see all these, you talk about guys leaving. I think Georgia is up there in terms of one of the top teams in the country in terms of returning production because of how many guys, because especially defensively, like Georgia, you look at there's obviously the key guys, the Brock Bowers, who's back. You have the AD Mitchell who's drawn. You have Stetson Bennett who's drawn. But Georgia rotates a lot of bodies in and out. There's a lot of guys that get snaps. They may not be starting the first play of the game.
Washington was gone on offense.
But these guys like Osterdelp coming right in as the new number 2 tight end. You got plenty of backs. I think Kenny McIntosh is the main guy that in the backfield that went off to the league, and AD Mitchell obviously went off to Texas. But a lot of returning guys and a lot of guys that were young, but they have some experience and have had some snaps, and so there's the expectation is for those guys to slip right into the role from the guy that went off to the NFL in front of him. So I think I expect Georgia to at least, I think, make the playoff. It's very hard for me to say a three-peat because I think just repeating in of itself, you need so much luck to go your way just to be in the position to be able to win 2 in a row, much less 3 in a row.
How many times have we seen repeat champs? It hasn't happened very many, and I don't know that I can't even remember the last time it three. I'd have to look it up.
I don't. I think maybe it's. I think Minnesota and like the late 40s did it. I think at one point.
I mean, it would be like forever ago.
So, yeah. So, and this is probably the last chance to do it because I think with that 12-team playoff format, it's not going to happen. It just won't.
You're probably right. All right. So I was talking about Taylor joining us for our summer series. So this is our last episode technically of our season 1. I'm calling this our last episode. I am going to take about a 3-week break. And then we coming back for what I'm calling the summer series. And we're going to be here doing our show on 16th through the 20th. Now, the 17th through the 20th is SEC Media Days. 17th, there's 3 teams that's at SEC Media Days. The 18th and 19th, there's 4 teams that we'll talk about. And then the 20th, it wraps up with 3 teams again. But the 16th, Kentucky basketball, which everybody knows I'm a Kentucky fan, is playing in the Global Jam in Toronto. And it is the 12th through 16th, and it wraps up on the 16th. So I thought I'd do a recap of how Kentucky looked and played in the Global Jam on the 16th, and then we'll do the 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th, covering the teams that are there participating in SEC Media Days. All right. So you said you want to talk a little football. So since we're talking about SEC Media Days and covering the football, give me your top 6 SEC teams going into the year.
Top 6.
Just SEC.
Okay.
Top
Just
6.
SEC. Okay.
And you can start at the top. That way you can go down.
I
mean, Georgia's going to be number 1,
Georgia
I know.
1. Yeah.
Yeah.
LSU at 2. I'll say Alabama at 3. And then 3 probably. Then Tennessee at 4. Go through there. And then probably 5. That's when I'll say Ole Miss at 5. And then at 6, probably I'm gonna say probably South Carolina at 6, and I would even say interchangeable between South Carolina and Ole Miss. It's definitely the way that South Carolina ended the 2022 season. You definitely have to be looking up at them to beat Clemson and what was the other big game they had? They had 2 big wins at the end of the year.
Tennessee and
Clemson. So apparently when they play a team with orange jerseys,
Tennessee too.
They turn to the 85 Bears when they're playing a team with orange jerseys, apparently. So I mean,
well, so you do have to say that they did lose their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, but from the South Carolina fans that I've talked to, despite the showcase against Tennessee, they actually were pretty happy, it seems, to see him go. And I think just kind of vanilla play, the situational play calling is what I've been told.
They put up 63 against Tennessee, killed them. I mean,
now, granted, but now full context though, they were missing Jeremy Banks, and that was a defense that was like ranked outside the top 100 in pretty much every category defensively. That had already played Georgia a few weeks before, so they're already kind of beat up. You're missing your best defensive player. It's a road game in Columbia, so not that that's still 61 points, but you got to give the full context there. I think.
I didn't think they were going to stop putting up points. Actually. In that game, I was like, "Wow, Jason, football, SEC. What do you think?"
Obviously, Georgia, Alabama,
Heading into the season.
Georgia, Alabama. It's kind of tricky right there. I'm going to say Tennessee. I'm going to say Kentucky. I have to throw Ole Miss in at 5. I agree with 5. And then LSU.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
So
Auburn.
Here's my thing.
Auburn.
Nah, I don't think Auburn's going to be top 6. I think
But
Hugh Freeze has got a little.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think Hugh Freeze has got a
surprised, man.
little ways to go to get that.
I don't think so. I think Hugh Freeze has an imagination so wide and vivid that he can get those guys down there thinking they're better than what they're, because he did it at Ole Miss. All he did was get the right recruits in at the right time.
He recruited at a very high level relative to what Ole Miss is capable of. Now that's the issue for him heading into Auburn is with Brian Harsin and the lack of recruiting there. You're limited on the Jimmies and Joes that you have at Auburn, and you're playing. This is the last year we have of
they were
divisional
pretty
football,
depleted, and that's kind of what's happened to Florida as well.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Florida as well is they just don't quite have the talent that normally used to. Not right now. Now, if you look at what Nate 2024 class, he is putting together recruits like Florida of old. So I do expect if he can keep that up, that Florida will count in a year or two. But my top 6 is going to be pretty similar to guys. The only thing that I'm going to say to y'all is this. I have to see what Tennessee looks like. I'm not – they are having to replace – I mean, they lost wide receivers that are NFL stars. I mean, that are NFL bound, probably going to be stars in the NFL. They lost what I think is their best quarterback that they have had. It's Peyton Manning. It's me. And I know they have Milton. And I know the kid has an absolute cannon. I mean, you can't deny that. The problem is that sometimes he goes in the third row of the seats. I mean, he hasn't shown the kind of accuracy that you from Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker, top notch. I mean, he could throw it on a rope inside. I mean, and hit a quarter. I mean, and you don't see that. I haven't that with Milton, and he's not going to be throwing to guys he had last year, like Hyatt and the ones he's not going to be throwing to them. So while I agree Tennessee should be in the top 6, I'm still holding out on like number 4, like where you had them. I'm more in the 5 or 6 range, but I'm not saying that Heupel can't get them there. He probably will. I'm not saying he won't, but I think I just need to see a little bit early on because I don't feel like I've seen enough with Milton to say, okay, they're going to keep that jump going.
Yeah, so for me, the offense is not going to be the question. I look for Milton and Squirrel White to be a pretty big connection, but the defense has got to be the biggest question mark after last year. Outside the top 100 in all these categories, lack of ability to get off the field. So
their defense the last 2 years has been terrible, really.
Yeah. It's no other way to put
it.
Well,
that's really what I'm saying. So you put those that they've had on the offense. Now Hooker and those just carried them and made them look great, despite the defense being terrible. I don't think that Milton can do that. I just don't. I mean, out of cannon, he can do that. I mean, I guess if you can find a guy like Hyatt again, where you can just take off and let him 70 yards down the field and run up and let him throw it like good last year. I guess because that's what Hyatt could do last year. But I don't know. We'll see. My top three would definitely be Georgia, Alabama, and LSU. And then I think it actually falls off a little bit. I think those three now preseason looking at it. I think those three kind of are the top of the field in the SEC. There's teams like Texas A&M that I'm not giving any love to. Auburn that's not getting any love. I think Mississippi State is probably in for a little bit of a downturn. I think losing Mike Leach is going to hurt way more than what some people are predicting. I know Rogers has been one heck of a quarterback for them, and he is back. But I think he's going to miss Mike Leach. I just do.
I don't know about that. I think
that's my take on that.
I don't know about that, Brad. I don't know about that, Brad. I think Mississippi State. Man.
I just have a pretty strong feeling. I think they're going to.
They're going to miss his antics. I give you that. But as far as football schemes and that, I think he has a brilliant mind. But I think, and don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying this, I will put Mike Leach in the realm of a Bob Huggins. Great for sound bites, but losing touch with the kids in the game is passing him by. So I think that, the ones who are stepping up Mississippi State, they're ready to connect those kids. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So you might be right. Oh, boys, fantasy football. Hey, man, what's up, guys? I just hi. So top 6 around the country outside of the SEC. Who you have, Taylor?
Michigan at 1, probably outside of the SEC. So probably Michigan at 1, Ohio State 2, USC at 3, 4 probably the Big 12. I guess I'll say Clemson at 4, Florida State at 5, and then maybe 6. I'll say Penn State. I'll do 3 Big Ten teams because the Big Ten East, we could have 2 Big Ten East teams in the playoff again this year, and I'm hearing a lot of good things about.
Are they still in divisions this year? The Big Ten.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, so it's.
I know they're doing away with it. I don't know if it starts this year or next.
Yeah, but Drew Allar is the new quarterback taking over for Sean Clifford, and I'm hearing a lot of good things about him as far as just he was a 5-star coming out, highly touted guy, big arm, pocket passer, sees the field very well. And then I think Michigan kind of by default because they're the other team that's been in the playoff the last couple of years and really are a couple of fluke turnovers away from in a bad red zone's possession from being facing Georgia in the national championship.
They got some guys back too.
Yeah, and they have a lot more returning production than Ohio State.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I will say you're forgetting the Big 12, just so you know, which is cool. I just want to let you know. All right, Jason, who you have around the country outside of the SEC? Who you have in your top 6?
Obviously, hit on one of them, the Ohio State. I think they're probably going to be preseason number 1. with all the returners they have back. He would possibly be the number one pick. Then I'm gonna go Texas. Texas
There's a
is
12
number
team.
2. So then I'm gonna put Michigan at that 3rd spot. Then I'm gonna come with USC at that 4th spot. I'm gonna go Clemson at that 5th spot. And at that 6th spot, he know what I'm gonna say, but he don't know what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say the Colorado Buffaloes. Let's go.
Okay. Come on.
Good grief.
Let's go. Let's go.
You know that's happening.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Hey, we said preseason before the games I play. Now, listen, he won the transfer portal bowl. He won the transfer portal bowl. He got all those transfers. So, hey.
I have more of an issue with I can't put Ohio State above Michigan until they beat Michigan again.
I can understand that.
And it's back in Ann Arbor this year when they play each other. So
yeah. I'm gonna say it right now. The Ohio State will go down in Ann Arbor and win this year.
I don't know about that.
Barring injuries. No,
write that down. Write it down.
Yeah. Barring injuries, you know what I'm saying? They got to be healthy and clicking. They can't go in there slipping.
I don't know, man. And I can't even begin to fathom Colorado in the top 6, but the rest of them, I got you. Except for maybe Texas, but I mean, Texas is right there. They're going to be close. I agree with you, Taylor, about Penn State. I think State has a chance to challenge Ohio State and Michigan this year for 10 championship. I don't know if Franklin can get it done or not, but I think that they have a chance. So I agree with you on Penn State. Around the country, you definitely have to start with Michigan, Ohio State, USC right there, Clemson. I do think that preseason you probably have to look at Texas in the 5 or 6 range. For Big 12. Kansas State is probably going to have something to say about that, probably. And who knows what TCU is going to look like? They lost quite a bit. So, I'm not sure what TCU is going to look like there. I just can't put Florida State there.
I didn't put Penn State.
I would
put Penn State
put Penn State over Florida State.
Oklahoma's there. They're right there as well. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, Penn State over Florida State.
Yeah, it's both of those are. I think the ACC is a little bit up this year compared to past.
It is.
But
Taylor always likes
the Big 12
talking a little football, so I had to throw in a little bit.
Yep.
The big question is what's going to happen to the Big 12 after this year?
The Pac is going to be the Pac. It's going to be the Pac-12. The big Pac-12.
That's the big question.
Yeah, it's going to be the big Pac-12.
All right. So, moving on from Yeah, it might be. You might be right on that. All right, so moving to July and talking a little football. Um, Starting in August, college sportscast here on Tuesdays. We will do our Power 5 conference previews where we will look at each team and discuss each team a little bit, their schedule, and pick a regular season record for each of the Power 5 schools. We will include Notre Dame in with the ACC. When we do the ACC, our round affiliated with the ACC. I don't really understand all of that, but they play like half their games or something are against ACC schools now, something like that. Anyways, so I'll include them in the ACC. We can all the schools, more than likely have a chance at the end of the year. So we worked August 1st with the Pac-12. Then on the 8th, I think we're doing the Big Ten. The 5th is the ACC. The 22nd is the Big 12, and the 20th with the SEC. So that is our preview series that we will do for football. Like I said, we have each Tuesday night in August. That will be our coverage in August for most of the month. And then August 27th, we're having a big The Fanboys Season 2 kickoff show. And Taylor's going to be part of that with his show. There's going to be, I think we have 15 different podcasts for it. We're calling it the Fanboy Kickoff Extravaganza. So I want to talk about it a little bit tonight since wrapping up season 1. Like I said, we have about 15 different podcasts. We will cover teams. Notre Dame is going to be covered, Clemson, Texas, Georgia, NC State, NFL preseason stuff with fresh takes. We'll have a Furman football podcast. We'll do some wrestling stuff. We will be there as College Sportscast. Texas is going to be covered. So there is going to be at least 50 plus podcasts that day. I think we're supposed to start at 11 in the morning on Eastern time, so 10 Central on the 27th, and a little bit of fun. We're going to do about 30-minute shows for most of us, and each cover our teams and what we got and stuff like that. So actually for us on the 27th, the season actually kicks off 6th. Recap of the games so that Navy and Notre Dame play each other on the 6th, and USC plays on the 26th. So we'll have a couple of 3 games to about and kind of do our recap show. And then there are some decent games on that Thursday, which is like the 31st. I know that NC State plays, and there's a couple of other games I'd have to remember off the top of my head. There's 2 or 3 games that we will talk about. Oh, Utah and Florida play that Thursday. Ought to be a pretty good game. So we'll kind of look at those games and do some pick-ems on 2 or 3 games on the 31st. So I know that's what we're going to do. Taylor, you're going to be part of it with your sports. So I don't know if any ideas of what you're going to cover, what you're going to talk about yet, though.
I'm thinking Jay and I might talk a little bit of Falcons. That's kind of what I'm point. So
All right. It's going to be our season 2 kickoff show. We're going to have some fun that day. I know that Jay's going to do some stuff that is going to be live at a little restaurant called Arden's. And he's going to have some people there and going to start the show like that. Do some giveaways there at Arden's. And then we're going to get into each one of our shows that's part of the Fanboys. And like I said, by the time the day's done, I know we're going to have at least 15, maybe possibly other than that. Might get to 15, 16, 17, or 18 maybe shows. So it's going to be a full day of the Fanboys podcast. So hopefully we can promote and get people excited about it. Possibly doing some giveaways. I know we're going to be doing that as well. I know Jay is going to be doing that. So tune in, and we're going to all have a little bit of fun on the 27th of August. I am going to consider that the kickoff to our season as well. We are going to have the summer series and the Power 5 preview shows. But our official kickoff to the season will be August 27th. That's a Sunday. And then we'll do our Tuesday show for the SEC preview. Our Thursday show will be our pick'em for the upcoming week 1. And then we will get into our full season again. Another 125 shows. Right, Jason?
125 more.
I mean,
this might be the best season ever, man. Man, look here. Think about this. Through all the ups and downs, 124 seasons, like it was a lot of things going on. There was a lot of things that happened this past season.
There was.
A lot of things that went on.
Yeah,
man.
we had technical difficulties. We had some audio. That wasn't even my fault or whatever. Like it was the people who are hosting, like the host that I'm using and stuff. Like it's been. We've had. We had one time we did a show with an important guest, by the way, Auburn baseball coach. Actually, we did a show where somehow or another it created 2 different rooms.
Yeah, man. He
so when I sent him,
2 hours later.
Yeah, I sent him an invite to the show, and then I sent my guys, Jason and John, an invite to the show, and it actually created, because he wanted his invite like an hour before. So it actually sent him a invite into a separate room. And the head baseball coach of Auburn was just sitting there waiting on us. True story. Yeah.
That's true story.
Absolutely. It was definitely a true story. So we've definitely had our fair share of oops and everything else this year.
That's a part of the ride, huh?
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, we've definitely had our fair share. That one I wasn't sure, like that we had to go through, and the some of the SID people, they wasn't too happy there for a little bit. but it wasn't nothing. Like I didn't just. I don't know how it happened. One of those crazy things that probably wouldn't happen once in a million years. You know, that happened to happen. I had the head baseball Auburn on. Yeah. All right, Taylor, if you need to jump off, you will wrap up and sponsor things. And if you want to jump on off, you can. And I appreciate you on with us tonight. And we will hopefully see you this summer for the summer series during the SEC media days.
Appreciate you guys having me on. I think it's going to be an exciting time to do some of those pick'ems come football season. So I look forward to it for sure.
All right, man. Taylor, you have a good night, man.
You too.
All right, Jason, you still with me?
Still with you, man. Still with you.
All right, man. So, one thing real quick before we get off here that I seen today. Did you see the NCAA come out today and was talking about how a lot of these schools are going to get in trouble or busted or breaking the rules with NIL?
No, I didn't see that. What was that on?
It's on ESPN if you pull up ESPN. I'll let you take a look. I'll talk about True Victory. My shirt on again tonight to wrap up the season. Go to True Victory, veteran-owned sportswear company, and use that code to the right of the screen, that QR code. You can scan that code, and it'll take you straight to the shop. They have men's, women's, and accessories. And like I said, they are a veteran-owned sportswear company. Use our code DeFanboys for 15% off. We would appreciate it. It'll get you some cool gear. If you like to work out and jog, run, do anything physical fit, you will love this wear. It's light and feels great on you. There's all kinds of stuff there to look into, and they also have like camo stuff for veterans and stuff like that for hunters and veterans. So check them out. Again, use our code DeFanboys for a 15% discount. And I'll keep that up on the screen. So anyway, Jason, I just thought it was interesting. My take is this. The NCAA is right, and you know that I've been talking about it for a while. But realistically, unless the government steps in. So here's what the story says. The story's like the NCAA is saying that the state legislations are making rules that are actually breaking the rules on NIL. And that even though your state says it's okay, the NCAA is saying that it's not. But unless the federal government steps in and gives the NCAA the power to do something, does the NCAA have any power to do anything about it? That's my question.
Especially when you were saying you need the government to step in. That's what you was wanting. You was wanting the government to step in, but the NCAA stepping in is how can you really say something when you open up this can of worms? You open this Pandora box to allowing anyone in a particular state. Okay, I just got sent an article here. There's a kid here that's projected, and he's a junior in high school. He's projected to have $1 million NIL worth. All right, his worth is, and they said that, and I just read the article before we came on air, that if he moved, he
What's
would
up?
be eligible. He would be eligible. He would be eligible for some of these incentives. But since he's in Arkansas, he can't get all of these incentives. And so I think once again, the NCAA is going they're going to set themselves up for another lawsuit, and they're going to lose. And so, like I said, I think they need to come back to the drawing board. They need to meet with all athletic directors and come up with a way. And like I told you, put it in a trust. Hey, you got to do
But there's
2-3
a
years.
problem with that. So Tennessee is making their own rules. Texas is making their own rules. So as we speak right now, Texas this week, I think on Thursday, is supposed to sign into a law on the NIL where the not only the kids, the boosters or the collectives can actually encourage and promote to fans to try to get fans to give them money. And so, and on top of that, they can pinpoint it and say, hey, we're trying to recruit this kid and we need you to give us money. So what I'm saying to you is that's not a law everywhere else, but right now Texas is passing that law. So if you're the NCAA and I don't know, whatever, Colorado or Florida can't do that, but in Texas, legally, because they are in the state of Texas and the state government is overseeing all of this, Texas can. So how can you, as the NCAA president, how could you come in and say, okay, we need everybody to meet and everybody's going to follow these rules when Texas is going to go back and say, I don't have to do that. It's legal in my state. I can do what I want.
But that's why certain people are choosing certain schools. Kind of like LeBron James' son. Think about this. LeBron James had a real high evaluation, right? Had he went anywhere else, he would not get a chance to reap the benefits of his marketability in the state of California. Think about that now. Think about that.
He wasn't leaving. I knew he was going to stay in LA.
But I'm saying he would have lost money had he left, because some states have certain rules. They had caps on things. They had certain caps, like you just said.
There's a lot of states that are like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But California and Texas and a few of the schools are the ones that's a few more lenient on it.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, last year, Texas A&M in a video at a recruit at a ball game said on video, that guy right there is the guy you can get your money from, and pointed him out to the recruit on video, and nothing was said about it. When you at the school are not supposed to have anything to do with that. That's supposed to be done outside of your attention, and you're not supposed to lure them to the people at all. That's not supposed to be a thing, but it's happening all over the place because, like I said, some states allow things and some states don't, and everybody says, well, the government shouldn't be involved. The government is the one that's leading this. It's just per state governments. It's not really the NCAA. The NCAA didn't even start this. California started it.
They did. Then Florida joined in.
Yep.
Yeah.
California is the one that started. The state government is the one that started it.
Interesting take. Interesting take. Interesting
I
take.
just
We gonna
I just wonder. My point in bringing this up is, without the federal help of legislation, what really can the NCAA do? I don't really think there's much they can do.
It's gonna be interesting. I told you, meet with the ADs. Meet with the ADs so the ADs can let the benefactors and boosters know what's the limit. Because guess what, man? Listen, these jokers gonna be getting many lottery ticket numbers around here. These scratch offs, they're using their lottery tickets every day. Every day. They're getting the scratch off every day, Brad.
Yeah, I hear you. I wished I did.
Yeah.
Could I figure out how to be on the other end of that somehow?
You see what I'm saying? For
I'm
real.
probably too old.
Yeah. For real.
Yeah, I know. All right, guys. That's going to wrap it up for tonight. Like I said, we are wrapping up our season 1. Man, it's been a great run. I've loved it. It's been a lot of ups and downs, but it's been enjoyable. I love talking to the guys and talking sports and having a few fans along the way, and meeting a lot of really cool people. I mean, we've talked to Peter Burns and Chris Marlar, and I mean Daniel Shirley from the Athletic, and I mean just there's been a bunch of them. Ron Slay, you brought Ron Slay on. That was a fun show. So I mean, we've had a lot of fun along the way. We will be back to cover the SEC Media Days. So that's going to be our summer series. Then we'll do our Power 5 conference previews. And then we'll kick off season 2. So
What is a bang? What a bang? What a bang.
Jason, you're going to have a little time off here. If you want to, I'll talk to you about the SEC Media Days. I don't know if you are going to be available in the summer or not, but
man, I know I'm headed to Orlando tomorrow, to the 3rd, and then I come back on the 3rd, and then I'm from the 5th to the 10th. I head to Augusta, Georgia for the final AAU deal, and then my kids are going to, I don't know, we got to decide if we're going to go to Des Moines,